Welcome to the Banter and Bliss podcast. My name is Jason. I'm here with my slightly upset co-host, Allie.
Absolutely not.
She's not in a great mood today, so we're trying to get her in a good mood. I'll try to figure out how I can do this during this podcast.
Oh boy.
Again, this is episode 7 of the Banter and Bliss podcast. This is our third episode in a 3-part series of our New Year's resolutions. So this will culminate our discussion about that. We have another two or three goals we're going to kind of run through. Talk a little bit about that. It's a combination of both of ours, and and then we'll end this series, and then look forward to kind of reviewing this next year and seeing how our resolutions held up. Did we do what we said we were going to do, and all that kind of stuff. So let's jump into it. Let's see what we can go into. Why don't you go into your last major goal on here, or your other major goal?
We only went through one of mine, right?
Yeah. Well, you have 3 here. We can talk about the other one, which is it's less of a concrete thing, but I know I alluded to this in the last episode or in the first episode.
I don't remember which one was like a re-record and which one wasn't.
Oh.
But I don't think we talked about.
Well, yeah, you only talked about the novel on this one. So the other 2 were the move and metaphobia. So, want to jump in one of those? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a severe phobia of vomiting, which is called emetophobia. And so basically, if I feel nauseous in any way, I'll get really bad panic attack, really bad anxiety attack. And it's sort of really hard to get out of that mindset when I feel that way. And I've sort of been like, I feel like a victim in this situation. Probably now it's going on since I was 12 years old. So almost 20 years now, which is a long time, having this thing that's like consumed my entire life, majority of my life at this point. And it's sort of just been this burden, this thing in the back of my head. It's sort of consuming a bit. It takes over almost every moment of my life, like every activity I do, everything I eat, everything I drink, when I sleep, just if I want to lay down, just I'm very aware of it. And yeah, so I've made progress throughout the years, like ways to cope with it in the moments where I'm having a panic attack about it. There's ways where you can make yourself relax and just sort of put yourself in like a cozy environment. I have to like get physically comfortable as well as work on it mentally. It's a lot. And sometimes it's hard to get out of it because your like body and your brain is saying like impending doom is coming and you're going to die. And it's weird because my rational side is like, you're fine. You're not going to die. It's just throw up or whatever. And I learned recently, like, because it was the, which part of the brain was it? Amygdala, yeah. And the amygdala does not respond to like your rational thoughts. It responds to conditioning and like patterns of like your behavior to that thing. So basically the fear won't listen to my rational thoughts trying to relax or whatever. Or even when you're trying to help me out, saying just calm down, relax, you're not going to throw up, like my amygdala is like disregarding all of that. So there's some things out there, like some books and things that I want to get, and didn't even realize those were out there until recently. So I'm thinking those will help. But essentially, the fear or the New Year's resolution this year is to overcome this. I don't know if you can be cured, but there are cases of people who have had emetophobia who've gotten rid of the fear altogether. Like they can move on from their lives, and it's not in the back of their heads anymore. So I want to get to that point. So that's a goal this year, whether that's with like a therapist, reading these books, whatever. I've been having them less frequently too. So I don't know if that's like a mindset thing or like just like slowly the healing process is beginning. But yeah, so that's that one. That would be great if it, because that's one of the things that's bothered me for the last 20 years. And it's funny because I've never actually thrown up in these 20 years. So yeah, it's just, the amount of times I've had panic attacks thinking I was going to throw up, and I never actually did. There were a few times where I like dry heaved and I was like, oh boy, this is the day. And then it was like the morning, so I didn't have any food to throw up. But I probably would have thrown up that day if I did. And then there was one day where like stuff came up a little bit and then I swallowed it down like on accident. And then I didn't end up throwing up, but I think there was throw up coming up. So there were 2 times in 20 years where it was probably possible I would have, but just didn't. So yeah, we'll see if this one, at least if it's not cured, I at least just want some progress on it. But like, I don't know how long this stuff takes to be cured, recovered, whatever. So yeah, whether that's cured or progressed in some way, then I'll be happy with that. I mean, if it gets cured in like a month, that'll be great too. But I have no idea. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that, like to kind of unpack and unravel. Um, you know, humans are interesting creatures, right? Like humans are the way that they are because of their prefrontal cortex, like their frontal lobe, right? Which allows us to, front part of the brain. I think it's like we have like 3 different sections of the brain, right? And this frontal lobe is the thing that's responsible for like critical thinking and all the things that we take to be human. The amygdala is the primitive brain. It's the lizard brain, as they call it, right? The amygdala is like something that like, creatures, mammals, like individuals have, right? And so that primitive brain is the thing that existed since millennia, right? The prefrontal cortex is a new thing, basically, like that humans have. And that's the thing that differentiates us from them. But we still have that amygdala that they have, right? And that primitive thing is based on emotions, pretty much. It's things like fear, right? So I'm saying all this for a purpose, is because it ties back into that same thing of being routed in those like base emotions. And an example of that is fear. And so fear is what's driving your phobia. And so you have that frontal lobe, but the amygdala naturally the frontal lobe can override the amygdala, but naturally the amygdala wants to run the show, right? Because fear and the way things protect you, your brain always looks for. That's why like humans are able to see more negative than positive in things. There's a reason for that. Negative things are bad. They can do harm. They can kill you. Like, you want to be aware of all the possible negative things that can happen, and positive things are don't make as big of a difference, right? As Jordan Peterson says, like, you what is it saying? He's like, there's only so much happiness you can have, but you can for sure be dead. Like there's no, like, that's the end game of like the bad and the negative, and the positive, it's like, well, you can only have so much happiness. So,
Well, didn't he say like or someone said like happiness is like an extreme. You can't be extreme like 24/7, you know?
well, you can't be, but as happy as you want to be, it's it's like, it's a fleeting thing, but then it's also, you can only be so happy, but you can for
Yeah, that's what I'm
sure.
saying. Is like happy is an extreme of the good where we're not naturally extreme creatures. It's like we have to have like a middle ground where it's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like that's like the status quo.
Well, yeah, that's not the point I'm making, but yeah, I mean, that is true. My thing is more of just like, if there's a negative thing and a positive thing that are out there, and you engage with the positive thing, okay, it makes you feel good. Okay, doesn't really change a lot. It feels good. But if that negative thing is a lion and it kills you, you're done. That's it. So it's like, your brain naturally wants to be more aware of the negative things, because if you don't prevent yourself from interacting with that thing, you're done, right? And your brain, the entire purpose is
Which is why the news
survival.
is negative.
Well, it feeds on that. It feeds on that for sure.
People want to hear like the bad news.
I mean, yeah, it's a convoluted fucking thing. But
It's like a weird thing of like being aware of all the events going on. I feel like that's like the core of it. People just want to be aware, and if anything they need to know is going on, then
it's gripping the negative. It's the same line of thought that the negative things are the things that you
well, that's why
latch
people
onto.
love drama reality shows. It's just full of drama. It's cat fights, it's fighting over people, it's relationship fight, like it's all drama.
Mm-hmm.
So that's literally negative things grab everyone's attention. Even like TMZ, they'll post a story. So and so broke up. This person's having a divorce. This person's getting arrested. Like it's just like all bad news.
Fucking TMZ.
You never hear about like, oh, this person, I don't know, donated to a charity, or just it's just always like the bad news.
Right.
And I guess that's just because people don't click those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sadly.
Yeah, like during the pandemic, how insane and intense like CNN and all the media outlets were with the reporting the deaths and how many infections, and it was like insane. Like, they're making like a show out of it, kind of. So
Yeah, I couldn't watch the news like during COVID.
yeah, it was difficult. My parents would watch that and just have it on all fucking time.
I remember I had to take a bike ride like every day. I was like I can't like go crazy,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's difficult to overwrite phobias and fears. And so, yeah, cure is more of, what does cure even mean?
Basically, what the amygdala has done over the past 20 years is make this seem like a bigger monster than it is. So, like, that's sort of why it's like there's exercises that these books, therapists encourage is make the monster seem like less scary than it is, which is why the like spinning in circles like till you feel nauseous, or spitting in a toilet a few times, maybe even saying the word puke.
Like, yeah, you got to start doing that stuff.
Yeah, I haven't.
I try to push her like when she's like eating and she's like full. Well, not she's full. You don't want to eat more. I'm like, have another piece, a little piece, and then you eat it, and then it's fine.
Yeah,
and,
but I'm like,
but
I wouldn't be able to do more.
But it's a habit, and that's what goes back to what you were saying earlier, which is conditioning.
Yeah,
it is, you've conditioned your mind to think that that thing is worse of an issue than it actually is, right? You've talked about, if I'm going to throw up, that I'm going to inconvenience people. And
yeah, there's a whole guilt aspect to it. There's like a subset to the fear.
And sure, you would, I guess, but it's not on the, it's like, it's on a non-consequential level of inconvenience. It's inconvenience, like, if I'm doing something else and you ask me to like do something that is like slightly like an inconvenience, it's like that. It's like, oh, okay, it's on the floor. Well, now I got to clean it. But it's, yeah.
I think because like I can't handle it, it's almost, I feel like everyone else would feel that way too.
Well, you can't handle it as in you wouldn't clean it up. I mean, no one would clean up.
Well, no, like, I mean, like if someone threw up, like I can't clean it. Like, it's not going to be me.
But that's fine. Not everyone can, like, if there's something else that's going on, look, like you with the freaking the bugs, right? Like last time you like got the bug and you like put it outside or whatever, and whatever it was, and maybe you would do that with freaking, I don't know, my ex did that with a bee once.
Oh, like, yeah, no, I would save everything if I could.
And I don't want to I don't want to like preferentially kill the bug, but I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I couldn't do it. I just don't want to. Like, it's that I don't like, I don't like bugs. So I'm like, if there's a bug and stuff, like I'll kill it, but I don't enjoy like going near big spiders, shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's certain bugs that like creep me out more than others, but like poisonous spiders or something, venomous spiders.
I mean, tarantulas are creepy and they're not venomous.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as long as I have the proper like equipment to like remove them, then it's fine. But otherwise, it's like,
oh my God. I remember being at home once many, many years ago, and I was like, I think it was just me and like my sister in the house, and there was this fucking spider on the wall that was huge. It was like that big. The body was half that size, and then the legs, it was fucking creepy as hell. And she didn't want to kill it, of course. So I'm like, fuck. And she's older than me, so I was like younger. And I was like, fuck, I got to do this. And I got like a fucking, like this big ass fucking broom. And I like fucking wailed like on the wall, and like I killed it. But it was like, I was not going to grab that with a fucking,
oh my gosh,
like a tissue. The thing was fucking huge.
You got to get like a box or something, like a little like plastic or just something to like grab it. Like usually I had like to go food like that I'd eaten.
To go container of a spider.
Like if I had like fries that day, I would use like the fries container and like scoop it up or something, and then like dump it outside. Just whatever you can find. Gross. But yeah, no, not like a napkin. Sometimes I would use a napkin. I would like scoop it up like onto it, and then it like I would just hold it and then get it outside.
Fucking bugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else? We had another minor major goal on here, but that one's kind of still up in the air, so I don't know if you want to talk about it. And then my the passion project company idea, which obviously is still marinating in my head. Was laid off in end of November, and we went on our road trip. So I've been working, but not like day job, full time job sort of thing. So I've been you know reaching out, connecting with people that I worked with in the past, seeing what opportunities there are for just extra income, stuff like that. I've got that going. I've got my trading, um, and now we have this podcast, which I think is kind of an um, interesting venture. Um, so I wouldn't want to be too much of a hypocrite and try to take on too many things at once. Like I tell you all the time, like don't do too many things at once because you're not going to get anything done. Um, and there's some like I was like learning Python programming as well, and I haven't touched that. Well, I was doing it, and then we went on a road trip, and that kind of like threw me off my pattern. So I have to get back into that. And I may talk with Keith again. We were talking. He like wants to do another like Python sesh or something like that. So I have a friend who's a process improvement analyst at the company I was at. He got laid off as well, but he's like planning on doing some sort of courses for Python and stuff like that. So I've got all that going on, and then yeah, I mean, I think it's still too early in the year. It's literally 2 weeks in of like other passion projects and stuff. Like there is definitely something I would like to do. We talked about, but I haven't like done any research on it yet for crypto and animals and stuff like that because I have deep passion for animals. I love animals, and I've thought for many years it's been like my theme since I was in school. And I think one of the more significant memories was when I was doing stem cell research. It was a neurobiology lab, and we were working on stem cells within a spinal cord injury microenvironment, and basically what we were trying to look at was in a spinal cord injury environment, how do certain stem cells, like how much of an impact or an influence do they make on the recovery of the patient, right? So the idea is you put stem cells into this area, what's happening from uh, from a molecule standpoint. So there are certain molecules that get recruited. There are certain receptors that get involved. I don't want to go into like the nitty gritty of it because no one's going to understand what I'm talking about anyway. But that was what a lot of my research was on. Was here's a spinal cord environment. We're going to replicate this, and then you basically take certain sort of molecules. There are certain cells that have certain receptors expressed, and then you test to see like how does this interact? Does this It's called a ligand, but does a ligand interact with a receptor? Does it not? If it does, what does it do? Does it influence the way that a certain stem cell differentiates, which basically means the stem cell, which is undifferentiated, undifferentiated being the stem cell can become multiple different cells. So a stem cell originally can become uh, cardiac muscle, regular muscles, all kinds of tissue, fat. Like there's all different things that it can differentiate into. So, what causes something to differentiate in a particular cell? That's important because if you transplant stem cells into the spinal cord to aid recovery, and then it turns into, muscle tissue, like that's not helpful, right? You want it to differentiate into like a specific type of a neuron, stuff like that. And what's interesting about the way stem cells differentiate is that they differentiate based on the environment they're in, which is really, really cool. Because you could take stem cells and put them into areas in the brain, and because there are certain molecules in the brain, they'll differentiate into particular neural cells. So astrocytes, glial cells, blast, like all those kinds of things. But then if you put those same undifferentiated stem cells into a different area of the body, they'll differentiate into things that are in that environment. So it's kind of cool. Like stem cell technology is awesome. But
So was this
so going back to what I was getting at is that when I worked in that lab, we worked with mice, right? Because we were originally trying to eventually get to testing for humans, and I wasn't part of the lab when they were doing that portion. But for the mice testing, you breed them. They get to a certain age, then you basically you breed mice. So it'll be a mother, and she'll be pregnant. And so to get the proper amount of stem cells that they want, it's usually at a certain gestational period. And it was like E12.5 or whatever. I don't remember exactly what that represents, but it was like a couple weeks. So there's a certain portion when like you can get like the largest amount of stem cells. And so basically you take the mice, you breed them, the mom gets pregnant, you kill the mouse, you sacrifice them, as they call it, and then you basically take the baby out and take off top portion of the head and in the embryo, and then you extract the stem cells from that. So I was working with a doctoral student, and she basically we brought the mice up, and then they, in order to sacrifice them, they first basically use carbon dioxide to pretty much make them unconscious / kind of kill them. And then they do something, what the hell was it called? I forgot what the technical term was, but they basically use a thing and they like their neck. I don't remember what the term is called, but like putting the carbon dioxide into this little chamber that they're in and then doing that. And I remember her asking me, like, do you want to do it? And I was like, no, like you can do it. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I felt really, really uncomfortable doing it. Like, it made me kind of feel like you with your phobia. Like I felt sick to my stomach. Like, just it felt wrong. And so she did it, and like I needed to like actually like turn away. Like I couldn't even look in the direction of the mouse because like it starts to like move in the thing. And I'm just like, ugh, no, like made me feel sick. And then she puts it on the thing, and I'm just like, ugh. Just even like thinking about it, I kind of get like the chills. And so that was just something I didn't like. Um, I think I don't like animal testing. Um, yeah, I don't like animals. So that's a lot of what I thought of when I was leaving the lab, when I was in the lab, when I was leaving the lab, and kind of things I was thinking about. Like, I would like to put an end to that. And I get that excuse me, I get that like animal testing serves a purpose, but I also feel like there needs to be another way to do it. Excuse me. So, yeah,
So does that tie into your goal somehow?
yeah. The specifics, like I said, I don't know yet. I still need to do more research, but that animal testing, the use of animals in research, um, and just animals being harmed, because it still applies for like factory farm. I'm like I'm not a vegan or anything like that, you know. But I think anyone could agree, even if you are to kill animals for food, it's like there's probably more humane ways they could do it, like kosher ways and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I don't like basically I don't like when animals get harmed, and so I want to do something to help reduce or stop that, pretty much. What that is right now, I'm not sure, and I need to research more. I had an idea or two when I was younger, but one thing I wanted to do was synthetic meat back when it wasn't really like a huge thing, and now obviously it's like Beyond Meat and all that kind of crap. But I think it was before Beyond Meat even came out. That was something I wanted to do, but it at the time it seemed like such a large, like, oh my god, you're competing with all these massive companies, and like, I was just in school, I had no fucking money, like it seemed too overwhelming. So I didn't do anything about it, and then it ended up. But there was a whole fucking like the market, with Beyond Meat, like was taken off and shit like that a couple years ago. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
Hmm.
that's kind of a little bit about a passion project or something like that of mine. I don't have more detail on it to give them that, but yeah,
Yeah. I mean, maybe this year, you can at least discover what it is that you want to do.
yeah, because it definitely doesn't seem like it's something that I like need to. It's not like like, oh, like I need to get it because this is like a job or like make money or something like that. It doesn't feel like that with that. It feels more just like there's something that like, it's like I'm passionate about it and I would want to do it just because it would be something I could do and something that would make a difference, make an impact. I volunteered for the Humane Society for a little bit when I was graduating from school.
Hmm.
But that was like, yeah, very short period of time. And I kind of didn't even really enjoy what it was, is like I was like a district leader, is what they called it. But it was basically it's like the political aspect. Like you got to call the congressman and try to like, hey, I really want you to do blah blah. And it's like, ugh, that you're
Yeah,
doing
almost
it.
like the sales.
Yeah, it really. It's kind of like it's like being a salesman. And yeah, you're working for that purpose, but that's not the thing that I like. I would want to be like I think more involved with the actual like science of it, because obviously my background's in biology and all that kind of stuff. So I do still really like, um, and I'm still like a scientist, like at heart, kind of thing. So um, yeah. So
Do we have any more?
uh, the only other thing was I had a minor goal on here. To promptly communicate needs and desires to you. We talked about that. Not really too much to go into now, but that was more just making sure that we're continuing to um, communicate. I think we all agree that that's something that's really important in relationships. So I'm I'm doing my part and trying to do my part in that. Um, and because yeah, you have to work together. That's the only way relationships work. Um, and yeah, the only other thing on here was the move stuff. Oh, also, I had another major goal on here, which I won't go into crazy detail because we're like running short on time, but was just to be physically active and fit. I don't really have any.
I thought we did talk about that.
I think we did, and then we had to re-record it. I'm pretty sure we had to re-record that episode because that was the first thing I talked about. Like I said, I'm not going to go into detail on it, but it's basically just I want to spend time exercising, high intensity, like maybe 3 times a week. We've got our tennis on the weekends, and I'm gonna start doing I think yoga, stretching, and stuff like that, moving around. So I think that was in the one that we ended up having to re-record. But either way, I'm not going to go into more detail on that. I don't have like a specific weight. Like I could lose maybe 5 pounds, but it's like whatever. Yeah, and then the only other thing on here was the move stuff. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything you want to talk about with that or.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's something it's like I think I've grown kind of sick of California for a while now. Um it's just too chaotic, busy, stressful. Like everything about living here is, although the weather has been great, but it's like this is rare weather for California. Like we don't get rain and clouds like this.
You mean you mean the weather of the last week has been great in your mind?
Yes.
Yeah, because most Californians would be like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
this
they
kind
hate
of
this.
sucks." I mean, it's been cloudy, it's been
It's
rainy,
been
it's been.
nice. Like this is amazing.
I mean, I think it's a lot of just you know, she lived here her whole life, so I grew up in New York, um, so I'm not rain's not foreign to me. I'm not either or. It's like I like sun, I like rain. I think it's more of just
Yeah,
the
that's normal.
variety. Yeah, but it's
Liking all of them is normal, but then when you get like 98% sun,
yeah, but it's the variety. It's not the rain because being in an environment like Seattle or something where it rains like the vast majority of the time, like it's sunny here,
right, they
that gets
crave the sun.
annoying.
I get that.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I enjoy a sunny day like here and there, like it's normal, but I think we're just so deprived of rain and I want seasons. So I want to live somewhere that has seasons and variety, and I'm just sick of the desert climate here. It's just ugh, like I just don't want to. And then it's just too hustle and bustle. It's too busy. There's too much traffic. It's really expensive here. We can't even get a house. Don't even think I want a house because none of the houses here have land or space. It's like you're right next to your neighbor. I don't want that. And I want our own peaceful little sanctuary. We can have some animals in the garden. So with the move, that doesn't necessarily mean to have the cottage and the garden and the animals yet, but at least maybe we can find somewhere to test the waters, get out of our comfort zones, or just try something new. So, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot to it and a lot to this obviously. So in terms of like the goal and the other stuff we talked about, I don't think we have any. There's nothing concrete. We have the studio and we're here and we're taking things day at a time and
Yeah.
you know, figuring out stuff and you know,
Like, we're in a great location for the situation we're in. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, the place we're at is really nice, and yeah, so it's good. So it's not, you know, I've lived in, you know, having grown up in New York and even places out here, I've lived in, you know, shitty environments, and I don't. That's one of the things is I will always spend more money on a place for the comfort of the like the enjoyment of the actual living environment, the city, you know, safe environment, stuff like that. Like it's worth it. Um, always always do whatever feels right for you. Because I know my parents are the opposite of that. It's like, okay, whatever's the absolute cheapest, you save money. And it's like, no, I'll figure out ways to make money. And if I can't afford it, I will, because that is the thing that I cherish, right? Like there's other people, they cherish their freaking Fendi bag for $2,000. And okay, you get that. Like that, I don't care about. This is the kind of stuff that I care about is like, you know, because I grew up in a rough living situation. But anyway, that could be a whole other fucking podcast. So I mean, we got to run. So we can go ahead and cut it there. We can kind of talk more about some of these different topics in another episode. Definitely talk about later growing up and stuff like that. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and call it there. It was fun running through some of these. Look forward to hearing how they end up playing out at the end of the year.
We can check back in December.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to cover?
Not regarding the resolutions or anything. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the one that we're doing well with is the podcast. So at least we've got like one of them.
Yeah. Just gonna start working on the other ones, but yeah, podcast.
Oh, and I'm reading more, so I'm doing the book one.
Did you read last night? I saw you bring the book into the bed, and I don't think you
No, I read at work though when the kid was at piano.
You brought the book with you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, because I knew I had to take him to piano, so I'm like, just take it.
Cool, awesome. All right, well, thank you guys and gals for joining. If you like the video, please like, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, all that kind of jazz. And yeah, thank you for attending, listening to us yammer away for 43 minutes. And look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.